tracks, stats, and facts. www.enterthedome.com.
Good people, what's going on? Welcome to episode 13, the Dome Podcast. As I do each episode, I'd like to thank you guys for checking in. You know what I'm saying? We're having fun so far, man. So I'm not going to hold you. This episode, we're going to talk about the Enigmas, Andre 3000, Mos Def, Lauryn Hill. Now, in the history of music, in American music we're talking about right now, we've always had extremely talented individuals who, one, gave you all of themselves. Some gave you just enough to tide you over. Some gave you only a small portion of what you felt like could have been. And it left you desiring more. It left you feeling unfulfilled with what you felt like they could have provided for the culture. Now, that is not to say that the individuals we're talking about tonight didn't provide everything they could for the culture. Excuse me 1 second. I feel like they did give the culture a lot. But when you have extreme talent, extreme creativity, extreme focus, when you were focused and delivered epic, monumental, classic material, the challenge to keep doing that for some individuals too much. For some people, they'll say, I think I've done enough. Or the pressure can force some people to kind of drift away and start doing their own thing. Or maybe some people are so talented that they move from endeavor to endeavor, and music was maybe a catalyst for other things. And we're thinking about different enigmas. You think about Prince, for example. You'll say, man, we know everything about Prince because we saw Purple Rain or we listened to his music. But Prince was still a mystery up to the end. Even though he had probably 50 albums, 40-year career, he was still kind of a mystery. Sade, a mystery. Been around since early 80s. Worldwide fame. She singed about love. But you never really knew so much about her personal life and just about her in general. She kind of gave you only enough. And it made you want more, and it kept her mystique. There are artists like that in hip-hop. We think about Mos Def for a minute. I recently posted that I felt like Mos Def was possibly one of the most naturally, if not the most naturally gifted MC in the history of the culture. So when I listened to Thieves in the Night the other day, man, and I was like, there's just not too many performances like that I've heard, and I've listened to hip-hop since 84, 85. When I heard Mos Def on Black on Both Sides, and before that, on the Black Star album, the lyrical ability, the flow, the focus, the layers to his rhymes, it's easy for him. Talib Kweli talked about this before, that, you know, he had to put a lot of time in, like practicing to be a better MC, and Talib Kweli is a great MC. But he said for Mos Def, man, it all just came natural. It's like an artist who can just close their eyes and just paint a beautiful picture on the canvas. That's Mos Def when they do a verse. It's easy for him. He's an actor, a dope actor. I still love the movie 16 Blocks he did with Bruce Willis. Before that, he did TV. I think hip hop is like it's shooting a free throw, it's shooting a layup. So for Most Def, for us hip hop heads, a lot of us really feel like a focused Most Def is top 10 material, maybe even top 5 in terms of what he could have been, in the culture if he so felt the desire to keep making music. Because if you look at Black on Both Sides as his first solo, and then the new Danger, True Magic and Ecstatic. The Ecstatic has some amazing music on it. True Magic has some spiritual joints on there. So that's what you're working with. You're like, wow, what could have been? Black Star as a group. Allegedly, they have a new album coming out soon. And that's going to be produced by Madlib, I believe. So that's the follow-up to the Black Star album that came out in 1998. Now, we'll see. We hope it drops, but, they might hold it up some more. You know what I'm saying? They haven't been in a rush to drop it. They've been talking about this Black Star album since forever, but nevertheless, we're looking for that. Will Most Def disappear again after that? We already felt like his solo career is underwhelming in terms of what it could have been. He has dope music, and Black on Both Sides, for me, is probably a top 30, top 40 album of all time. I want to say I have it in my top 20, I believe, top 20, 25. I had to double check the list. You can go to intothedome.com and check out Top of the Dome page. But Most Def gave you what he wanted to give you, and he kind of moved on. But we're going to get back to Most Def in a minute. Now we're looking at Andre 3000. One half of what I call the greatest rap group of all time. Outkast. You see? And I do believe that. Tribe Called Quest is my favorite rap group. Outkast to me is the greatest rap group. They have the greatest discography in as far as groups in hip-hop history to me. You can argue Public Enemy and Tribe Called Quest can kind of rival them, maybe even De La Soul. For some people, maybe the Roots, but I feel like Outkast has that with Southern Playalistic, ATLiens, Aquemini, Stankonia, Speakerbox Love Below. I mean, really. I mean, you can use the joint from the movie soundtrack, Idlewild, excuse me. And of course, they have what they have. But Andre 3000 mesmerized a lot of fans. I think some of that kind of started for me on ATLiens and Aquemini. I believe his mystique started then because Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, I don't feel like Andre stood out like that. I mean, I felt like he had talent. Big Boy is supremely underrated, and let's just say this real quick. Big Boy was neck and neck to me on every Outkast album with Andre. But Andre is amazing. Andre was captivating. He became a little more mysterious, started in 1996 with ATLiens. And by the time Stankonia came, he had totally changed his style altogether. He would come in and out. You didn't see a lot of interviews. You didn't see a whole lot with Andre, even Outkast. So now he becomes more of at some point, a mystery. Even though there are several albums in, Andre 3000 just kind of like fade away. He would come in, come out. He would never give you too much in terms of interviews and just trying to be all in front of the TV like that. And he's still like that to this day. He definitely is an enigma. He's definitely a cat you might see playing a flute, the airport somewhere in America. You know what I'm saying? That's just who he is. But in terms of the music, people started desiring for this solo career of Andre 3000. So early 2000s, Speakerbox Love Below come, and a lot of people saying, okay, our expectations is this rap album. I think a lot of people thought, well, if it's not a total 100% rap album, at least he's going to rap on half of it because, we know he's going to have some singing because Hey Ya had blown up and it was all over the place. But Andre really was very eclectic. He dropped something that was dope, but it was different. So it threw a lot of purists off. It kind of reminds you of the CeeLo Green solo debut and maybe even Kanye 808 for some people later on. You know what I mean? Like, it was just different. You know what I'm saying? So now, of course, we know that the Love Below came out before 808s, but I'm just saying when people hear those kind of albums, excuse me, they're not essentially rap albums. So for me, is that Life and Times? I think Andre Benjamin, the last song, he was rapping. He was doing what he do. So that made it even more frustrating for a lot of fans because people were kind of like, well, this is what I want to hear 15 tracks of. And if he'd have done this for 15 tracks, it'd have been a classic, which we found out on Twitter this past 2 weeks that a lot of people feel that Love Below is a classic anyway. It's a classic album, not a classic hip-hop album. And I disagree, but it has some good music on there. I did like Prototype and a few other songs on there, but it was not a classic album to me. Not saying it didn't have a lot of impact because obviously Speaker Box Love Below went diamond, sold over 10 million copies. So, I mean, the impact is there. The popularity is there. I prefer what Big Boy did on Speaker Box. I think Speaker Box is much better. But nevertheless, we thought we was going to get an Andre 3000 solo album. We didn't get it then. We started getting a bunch of classic features, whether it's a features on Rick Ross album or T.I., just everyone. Andre was out there doing his features. And it made fans scream more for another solo album that we never got. And in 2022, Andre 3000 has basically never released a solo rap album. So when I made a post on Twitter that Andre 3000 could not be the GOAT because he does not have a solo rap album, I felt like that was a fair assessment. Now, it was just another one of my random tweets that I do. I tweet every day. I tweet my thoughts on music. I don't talk about just hip hop. I talk about Madonna and Hall & Oates and Johnny Cash and everyone else. But, you know, that tweet, it caught on for whatever. I didn't do anything for shock value. I really feel that way. You don't have a solo rap album. How can you be the greatest rapper of all time when you shared the load with Big Boy? And I was telling someone the other day, I said, look, someone kept talking about Biggie. I said, do you realize how much work Biggie Smalls had? People said, well, Biggie only had 2 albums. No, listen, Ready to Die, Life After Death was a double CD. That's 3 CDs right there. Then he had enough verses for Born Again. That's 4 albums. Then he wrote Junior Mafia album. That's 5 albums. He executive produced Junior Mafia album. He executive produced No Way Out for Puff. He has various R&B features. Biggie had like 5 or 6 albums worth of music. So the rhetoric of just Ready to Die and Life After Death is not true. That's like saying Tupac music stopped after Machiavelli. It did not. He had a bunch of music that was released after Machiavelli. They added on to the mystique and added on to his catalog. Biggie had a lot of work. I posted on Twitter 1995 and all of the stuff Biggie was involved with. This is almost 2 years before he passed, but nevertheless, that's just the point that Biggie had more verses on Life After Death than Andre had on like 3 or 4 albums. Do the knowledge. You can check that out for yourself. So Andre did split the work with Big Boy, and it's really a disservice to Big Boy when people just talk about Andre. How can Andre be the GOAT? He does not have a solo rap album. So you're going to tell me someone like KRS-One, Jay-Z, Nas, all these guys who have 15 plus albums. Do you know what kind of pressure it is each time to drop an album by yourself? 2 or 3 verses on 14, 16 songs. Features here and there over the course of like 3 decades. I can't in good conscience put Andre 3000 over several other GOATs, but he is in my top 20 MCs of all time. He is part of the greatest rap group of all time, and he is one of the greatest MCs. There's a lot of great, amazing MCs, and 3K is one of them. And we'll get back to 3K, same way we'll get back to Mos Def, Yasin Bey, Lauryn Hill. Again, a person who we saw supreme talent. We heard the Miseducation, and for a hip-hop purist, the Miseducation reminded us of, well, the Love Below reminded us of the Miseducation because we wanted Lauryn to rap some more. Now, Miseducation is an amazing album. I believe she won every Grammy the year it came out. Every last one. Was it 98, 99? She won all the Grammys. And well-deserved. Amazing album. When she did rap on the album, it was stellar lyrics, beautiful flow, beautiful voice over those nice beats and production. All we asked for was more. We wanted more. We wanted Miss Education to be, some singing her own hooks and her rapping on like at least 10 to 12 songs. But she gave you some hip hop, some reggae, some R&B, some soul, gospel, everything. It's a stellar landmark album, but it wasn't a hip hop album. So we yearned for more. Then years later, she did that MTV Unplugged, and she was going through some things, man, like we all do in life, and she shared that, and it almost felt like it was more sad than some the 2 or 3 sad songs on some Sade albums. So Sade is my favorite, but I'm just saying it was you could just tell that she was really pouring out some real life, I guess, some love and some loss and some disappointment in her personal life, and we didn't want to hear that. And she was doing a cappella and some with a guitar. And was like, is Lauryn gonna ever rap again? But I believe when I saw that, I said, man, Lauryn Hill ain't rapping no more. She's done. You didn't really hear her anymore until she did that song Nobody with Nas on King Disease 2 less than 2 years ago. And it was great to hear her back, and she sounded good. And she talked about her absence and everything like that. And you guys can check out the lyrics to that song. But, leading up to Miss Education, the reason why we were so excited was because you saw this cute girl rhyming with these guys on Blunted on Reality, and was like, man, nappy heads and all that, or whatever the case, vocab. Yo, she's dope. She got flow. She hot. Okay, they're dope. They're like the newer version at the time of Diggable Planets. So, okay, that's Diggable Planets all over again, but on steroids almost. Without necessarily the jazz influence, but kind of just more earthy and a little combination of all different styles of music. And I believe that was because of Wyclef genius in terms of MC, a producer, and a musician overall. So I think Wyclef was probably the guide in the direction of a sound of the Fugees. And when the score dropped, every verse that Lauryn Hill spit on the score almost made you forget that before her, there was an MC like Queen Latifah, you know what I'm saying? Foxy, Kim, Bahamadia, Roxanne, just all the great ones. See, the way she was spitting, people were saying, yo, we haven't seen a talent like this on the female side of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And so now it's kind of like, okay, what's next after the score? Is she going to jump off? Because, people were crying at that point to say, okay, I know Pryor does production, he does some other stuff, maybe. But we want to hear a Wyclef solo and a Lauryn Hill solo. We really want to hear a Lauryn Hill solo. You know what I'm saying? Like really, 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 you know what I'm saying? So when the Miss Education was starting to be promoted, stuff like that, we thought we was going to hear more rapping. We didn't, and 20 years later, we still haven't. She never gave us enough because we're selfish in hip hop. We want Lauryn Hill to have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 albums. And I think a lot of people don't understand that it's very hard for artists to have multiple albums. So when you hear about artists like Akaris, Nas, Jay-Z, some of the other LL Cool J, when you hear about these guys for Common, Ice Cube, Scarface, decades of albums. Again, the expectation, the pressure, the focus, the time that it takes to craft not only great songs, but great albums cannot be overlooked. And we thought that Mos Def, Andre 3000, and Lauryn Hill, because of their talent, we would get that. But I think it also goes to show that sometimes very artsy MCs always venture off. Andre playing the flute somewhere, Lauryn Hill disappears and tends to her personal life, pops in and out of a tour maybe every so many years, things like that. Mos Def doing his acting thing, traveling. He's very worldly. Yasin Bey, of course. When he changed his name, but I'm just using Mos Def for familiarity for people. Hip hop and music couldn't keep their attention that long. And it does happen to certain artists. These are definitely 3 of the ones who it happened to on a more grand scale, and fans were and have been disappointed for decades. it's like what dreams may come. You know what I'm saying? Like we really hoped that they would fulfill our needs because we're fans. Selfish again, like I said. Come on, Most Def. Why not several solo albums? But it's easy. Come on, Andre 3000. Is it pressure? Andre has said before that he never felt like he was really that dope. Sounds crazy, right? As great as Andre is with his talent, he actually has said in interviews before that he never felt like he was really that dope. You know what I'm saying? So you talking about somebody who, with that kind of, I don't know, doubt maybe he doubted that he could fulfill dropping solo albums that would satisfy fans. Because think about this: if Andre 3000 had dropped a solo album after Speak About Love Below, and it was anything less than stellar, fans, man, would have dogged him out. And I'm not sure if he really wanted to deal with that type of criticism. Because people understand the more you're out there, the more criticism. When Nas dropped Nostradamus, you get criticized. Jay-Z dropped Kingdom Come, you get criticized. You know, you just do. You're gonna get that. Everyone doesn't have a discography like Scarface, for example, where there's really no misses in terms of, okay, man, that was way below your standards. You know what I'm saying? Like that just was not a good album. You know what I'm saying? De La Soul's the same way. They just really have good albums. I mean, they don't have an album where you say, good God, what was Parson them thinking? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, even with Tribe Called Quest, the Love Movement was a disappointment to a lot of people. Some people thought it was okay, but they had so much great work. They took criticism for that, you know, but, you know, again, it's pressure. And in the age of social media over the last 15 years, whatever you do is critiqued immediately. Your album is a classic overnight, or it's terrible overnight, or whatever the case may be. But now people read. It used to be magazines. I did a tweet about how magazines used to have influence. You had to wait once a month back then to read up on the record reports about ratings, articles on artists. Now it's 24/7 news. As soon as an album is released, it's everywhere. And so now the fans can go right online and start critiquing. We all do it. We all talk about musicians, and we all talk about the music every day. Some artists don't want that kind of pressure. So you got to think about this. The internet was starting, you know, early 2000s was really starting to pop. I remember we used to be on OK Player and a couple other websites back then. A lot of websites was popping, you know what I'm saying? And they had message boards. These websites had message boards, and some of the artists used to be on these websites. OK Player, you know, Little Brother and Knife Wonder and Talib Kweli and Questlove and all these guys. I believe Questlove was part of OK Player. Correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people were on message boards reading up about their music. And just like Kevin Durant with a burner account on Twitter, please don't think that some of your favorite musicians are not on social media. And I don't mean just the ones with the blue checks. They have burner accounts. They have teams. They have assistants, business managers who have Twitter accounts. They are reading what's trending. You can best believe if a big name MC is trending on Twitter, they know it. They know they're trending number one on Twitter. If they don't have an active Twitter account, if Jay-Z, who has a Twitter account, but he's on there like once a year, if he's trending number one on Twitter, you don't think one of his assistants has shown him that and shown him some of the stuff being said about him? He's addressed it in songs. He's addressed it. They all know what's being said. So when I look at Andre 3000, Most Definitely, even Lauryn Hill, they want to deal with that because each of them seem very quiet and to themselves in terms of dealing with people. So did they want their team and people that's in their camps to constantly say, man, they're not feeling that new album, Lauryn, or they're not feeling that new album, Yasim or Andre? You know what I'm saying? Or somebody said, Andre, you need to get back with Big Boy, man. You know, your solo ain't popping. We need another Outkast album, bro. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they didn't want to deal with that. The pressure to be criticized is hard. Now, we speculating right here. I'm not saying that's true. I have no idea. I haven't heard them say that. I just heard Andre before say that, You know, he wasn't as confident in his skills as you might think. Excuse me. He really showed that he wasn't. I guess that shows character too, because we're looking at like, dude, you one of the greatest MCs as far as talent, but he's like, I'm working towards, you know, just trying to give you guys good music whenever I can and stuff like that. But that could be one of the reasons. You know, Mos Def, was he scared of critique? I don't believe that. You know, as opposed to maybe Andre. You know, because again, Mos Def has the Black Star album. He has Black on Both Sides. He has the new Danger. Excuse me. He has True Magic. He has the Static. You know, that's a lot of work. He had a lot of videos. He had a lot of freestyles. You know, he started with Sound Bomb and Rockers and all this stuff like that. He's still kind of one of the kids of native tongue. So Yasin Bey actually has a lot of music. Not as much as we wanted, and not enough pure hip hop, I guess, but that goes to his talent and his eclectic personality, because he did rap a lot on the Static and on New Danger. But he also had joints where it was kind of talking and singing and all kind of other stuff he was doing. And True Magic was more like, to me, I thought True Magic was dope, but he had a song in there called There's a Way. It sounded like a civil rights, like church track, you know what I'm saying? So he was doing that kind of stuff. But people, hip-hop heads, because he's a Brooklyn guy, they wanted another Black on Both Sides. They wanted, ideally, for Mos Def to have an album produced by High Tech, DJ Premier, Pete Rock, Ninth Wonder, you know, all of these kind of guys. They wanted some boom bap, and Mos Def, being his Brooklyn self, really rhyming. They want a lot of mathematics, you know what I'm saying, and hip hop. You know what I'm saying? They'll take some Umi, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. But they really wanted the boom bap hip hop. They wanted Mos Def to have several boom bap hip hop albums, and it never happened. And so he left a lot to be desired for your hardcore New York rap fans. Lauryn Hill, the female fans wanted more miseducations, which I think she could have done with her eyes closed, really, without whatever else she was going on, or maybe she just didn't feel it anymore. But a lot of female fans wanted more R&B from Lauryn Hill, you know, and more singing and the messages he was saying, because Lauryn Hill at some point kind of became the MC hip-hop version of Mary J. Blige. See, Mary J. Blige is the queen of, you know, she's the hip-hop queen, you know what I'm saying? But Lauryn Hill was the MC version of that hip-hop queen. So I believe people want to hear her sing and rap. Now, as for the fellas, we were yearning for what we heard on the score. Because I always said that talent-wise, Lauryn Hill is the most talented female MC I've ever heard, talent-wise, because she can do everything, because she can rap, sing, reggae, gospel, whatever. But I can't rank her number one because she don't have the solo work like Mos Def. And just like Andre, that tweet that went viral and people was posting all on Facebook and Instagram, and some people was bashing me because they were saying, well, that doesn't make sense for Andre not to be considered for the GOAT when, you know, with all the Outkast music and the fact that his verses were so, you know, incredible and stuff like that. So as far as Lauryn, again, we wanted verses, and we couldn't rank her above MC Lyte, who I have ranked number one. MC Lyte is my favorite female MC. I can't in good conscience rank her number one overall when she don't have the work. MC Lyte has several solo albums. Queen Latifah has several solo albums. Little Kim, Foxy. I'm not saying Lauryn's not better than them. I'm just saying she doesn't have any solo work. Jean Grey, who is one of my other favorite female MCs. Rhapsody, very dope MC who has like 10 projects. Like 10. I posted Rhapsody's projects recently on Twitter. So there's a lot of female MCs that has a lot of work that I can't in good conscience rank Lauryn Hill over, but I can say Lauryn Hill is probably the most gifted female MC in the history of the culture, and it left so much to be desired. we were not able to see her fulfill what we felt like was going to be a legendary hip-hop career, even though she has a legendary music career. And you can say a legendary hip-hop career to a degree, but as far as her as an MC, Kool Moe Dee had her ranked number 9 of all time, if I'm not mistaken, on this book right here. There's a God on the mic, Kool Moe Dee, the 50 greatest MCs of all time. And I want to say, people, that he had Lauryn Hill, and I'm going to double check real quick right now. So, as I look, yeah, my people, he had Lauryn Hill, the 10th greatest MC of all time. Kool Moe Dee had, who we respect Moe Dee, obviously the legend Moe Dee, but Kool Moe Dee had Lauryn Hill ranked number 10 of all time. And this book is, 20 years old, damn near. So, and a lot of people hold her in high esteem. Now, I felt like that was ranked on, I felt like he was ranking her on talent. You know what I'm saying? That's what I felt like he was ranking her on, because it wasn't discography. You know what I'm saying? So I think he was ranking her on that, because he had, Biggie ranked real high as well, which rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? Of course, it's a dope book. You know what I'm saying? You can check that out. You can look at his ranking. You can Google the ranking of the 50 greatest MCs according to Kool Moe Dee. But again, something that old, that's how Lauryn Hill was looked at. Everybody was looking at Lauryn like she one of the greatest MCs of all time. And she really didn't have a weakness as an MC, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? We just didn't get the music. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, going back to that tweet with Andre 3000, I was just basically saying, how can you eclipse everyone with 3 decades of music? Now, are verses that important? Most definitely Andre 3000, for example, I'm going to use them for a few minutes. Some of the dopest verses in rap history to me. I really believe that. They really have some of the dopest verses in rap history. But there are also individuals like Kool G Rap, Lupe Fiasco, Elzhi, Rakim, Nas, of course, Jay. There's a lot of MCs who have amazing verses that I can't say that they Andre and most blow them out the park. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't blow everyone out the park and don't have the solo work, you can't really be ranked like that. But nevertheless, again, like I said, the mystery of them is what it could have been. And I always felt like all 3 of them, they gave you enough of their life, but not too much. I feel like that, but some feel like they're still an enigma. Some feel like they still, just gave you enough to want more. You know what I'm saying? And what should we expect from MCs? What should we expect from musicians? Everyone's not going to be as prolific as someone who dropped every other year. Some people put their entire heart into a project, and then they marinate and they tour on that project for years, and they come back to the drawing board again. I think that's what Kendrick Lamar is doing right now. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of Andre and Kendrick, for example, I feel like, and I said this a few years ago on Twitter, that Kendrick's To Pimp a Butterfly, I felt like is the album that we wanted Andre 3000 to do. It was eclectic, but it was also lyrical. He would have something like Black in the Bear or something like that. Then he would turn around and have how much a dollar costs. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be it's all right. It's going to be all right and whatever. So I feel like, for example, you take Kendrick Lamar's voice and vocals, off of To Pimp a Butterfly, add Andre 3000 in there, and people be calling it the best thing since sliced bread, which they still call it that with Kendrick. So I feel like it gave us a glimpse to me of how an Andre 3000 solo album would have sounded. I feel like if Andre would have dropped a solo album, it was not going to be something like Aquemini or Southern. Well, they sound different on every album anyway, but I felt like it was going to be eclectic, like To Pimp a Butterfly. Andre wasn't going to have trap music and bounce and all of that. It was going to be something poetic and eclectic and weird a little bit and deep, thought-provoking and all of that stuff. That's what you was probably going to get from Andre 3000. You was going to get To Pimp a Butterfly. You know what I'm saying? And I think that would have been enough for some people. For others, they would have probably wanted more. Some East Coast people would have wanted Pete Rock to do some beats, but that wasn't going to happen. You know what I'm saying? As far as, like I said, with Mos, he dropped what he dropped. I don't believe you're going to ever get another Mos Def solo album. You know what I'm saying? I don't see it. I think that after this Black Star album, I really believe Mos Def is going to be back in movies and TV again, and I think that that'll be it. I feel like he's probably felt like he's said everything he need to say, because if you listen to Black Star album and Black on Both Sides, for me, Mos Def gave you all type of American history, social issues. You know what I'm saying? The state of Black consciousness, the state of hip hop. I believe he gave you all of that on 2 albums, not even counting everything he did on the projects after that. You know, I think Andre probably feel like these verses that he thought deeply into over the course of what, 6, 7, 5 or 6 Outkast albums. I feel like, and you know, especially with the Love Below, I believe he feel like, and I could be totally wrong, I've given music everything, even though his selfish fans feel otherwise. Lauryn Hill, I definitely can't say, because she obviously didn't give music everything that the fans wanted, but she might feel like, hey, I gave you guys 2 Fuji albums, The Miseducation and The Unplugged, and I've shared my heart with you guys, and that's it. I feel otherwise. I still feel like, you know, there's a lot more that Lauryn Hill could have given the music industry, but that's just me being a selfish fan, man. And I don't know the blood, sweat, and tears it took for Lauryn Hill or any of these individuals, you know, to release what they have released in their lives. I just know it's never enough for us. You know what I'm saying? There's other enigmas in music. There's other mysteries. You know, I look at Emile LaRue. I look at Maxwell. You know what I'm saying? I really look at people like that, and I'm like, wow, even Anita Baker, as famous as Anita Baker is, all you really know about is her music. And then when she disappeared, she disappeared. Some people come out, release music, give you what they give you. They might go on tour, and when they're done, they're gone. Everyone didn't give everything like a Tupac did, like a DMX did, like all of them. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing else DMX could have given us, man. God bless the dead. There's nothing else. Well, we feel like there's a lot more Tupac could have done, because he was definitely just a massive personality with a bunch of energy, and he could have, you know, maybe went into other things in life, but it didn't happen that way for him. But if you look at the movies and the music and the different types of songs he made, from your Dear Mamas to your Trade War Stories, I feel like to a degree, Tupac gave you everything. Some people give you everything. Like I said, DMX gave you everything. Eminem, who was the topic of discussion today, when I was talking about his albums and stuff like that. I know he's gifted. Didn't love his albums like that, but I know Eminem was gifted, and Eminem gave you all of him. He talked about his life in detail with his child, his mom, his baby mom. Yes, he made some crazy songs because, I mean, hey, some of it was shock value, but in the end, Eminem gave you all of him. Joe Budden gave you all of him. Go back and listen to Black Cloud. Go back and listen to The World Keeps Spinning by Joe Budden. So I guess the thing is, like I said, with the enigma of Mos Def, Andre, and Lauryn, do you feel like they gave you everything in terms of who they are? I still feel like there's still some mystery with each of them, to the point where if you found out Lauryn Hill was about to drop a new album right now and she said, hey, it's going to be a rap album, people will lose their mind. It was streamed like a Drake song. Even if she said she was doing an album and it was going to be an R&B album, R&B and soul, or even gospel or reggae or whatever, people would be just so ready to hear her. That's why, you know, that's why her name still comes up. That's why she was trending just by doing a verse on Nas' King Disease 2 album. Which is great to hear Lauryn and Nas together again after, you know, If I Rule the World was a classic joint off It Was Written. They both, the Fugees and Nas at the time was with like Columbia Records. So they have a long relationship. They've toured before over the years, you know, and stuff like that. So that was cool to hear that. But it's a big deal when people found out Lauryn Hill was on there, and people thought Lauryn Hill was only going to be singing the hook. And when Lauryn Hill started rhyming, everybody's like, whoa, Lauryn is rhyming. So they kind of made some people say, was Lauryn going to drop an album again? So that whole rhetoric started again, like, man, I think Lauryn coming. I'm like, yeah, no, Lauryn is not about to drop an album. But a lot of people thought that Lauryn Hill was about to drop an album because they heard that verse. And she sounded like she was in a zone again. But no, she came and go. That's what they do. That's what people like that do. Most, like I said, we're getting the Black Star album, right? We've been talking about a Mos Def album for years now. Mos Def last album came out when, 2009? And he's still, for underground and hardcore East Coast heads, he's still a topic of discussion all the time. I put Mos Def might be the most gifted MC up, and it got like 5,000 responses. People still love Mos. People still want to hear Mos. People are still excited about this Madlib produced Black Star album that I believe is coming out in a couple of weeks. Now, I believe it when I see it, but best believe I will be getting that album if it come out. Andre, top of the discussion again. Probably 2,000 responses to the Andre Not the Greatest MC, and a lot of people beg to differ. And that just shows the talent and the confidence people have in who he is as an MC. But I also believe that because he seemed like such a dope person, it's hard to root against Andre 3000. So yeah, man, what do you guys think about Andre, Lauryn, and Mos Yassam Bey? Did they give you everything that you expected? Did you expect more? Are you satisfied with the music that each three of these individuals have released overall? Is there anything else to be desired, man? Guys, let me know, man. Once again, it was fun. Not gonna hold you. Episode 13. Yo, we are done. God bless you. Subscribe if you like the content. Check out the other 12 episodes. We're just getting started, my people. One love from NC. Peace.